Welcome everybody to Train Tuesday. I am your host Jim Wiggin with Athearn. So glad to have you here tonight. If you are joining us live on the live stream, thank you for joining us. If you are catching us on YouTube, likewise, thank you. If you like what you see on our YouTube channel, please, by all means, like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for any videos that we drop into our YouTube channel. With that being said, let's see who's joining us here tonight. I see Bo, Bradley, Sid, Mr. SDT-2 himself, Alco Steam, Kyle, Meatstick05, Anthony. Let's see, Jason from Vermont, Fountain, Colorado Rail fan, Ian, DDA40X fan, Bruce, Chad, Glenn, Tom, and of course, DG Model Works is in the house. Want to welcome you all tonight for some neat stuff that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about Athearn HO. Athearn HO 260 Steam Locomotives, Athearn HO heavyweight passenger cars, and some 40-foot box cars. So for you guys that are in the transition era or steam era, you're going to have a lot of neat stuff to look at tonight. So we'll talk about those here in a moment. Let's do one more round of shout outs. Let's go with George. Hello, George, Angela, Terry, Robert, Ray, Harold, Kyle, and Joe Beckman Jr. So glad you could join us. Let's get started and let's get into some model railroad goodness by starting to talk about Athearn HO 260 steam locomotives. Now, these years ago were under the Roundhouse label. They have been upgraded to the now the Athearn brand. Now, the 260 was a modification of the common 440 design of the 1860s and served alongside it for many years. With 75% of the loco's weight on the drivers, the 260 was at home pulling both freight and passenger trains, although the relatively small grate area imposed by the lack of a trailing truck limited its range and steaming capability. Still, it found a home on branch lines and secondary runs up until the end of steam on some roads. And some of the roads that we're going to talk about tonight are some of those roads that kept these around for a few years, even as late as the late 50s, early 60s. So let's start with the Santa Fe that you see here. This is Santa Fe 503. For all the steam locomotives I'm going to show you tonight, for each road, you're going to have the choice of 2 road numbers. So if you want to get both within that railroad, you definitely can. And we're also offering the heavyweight passenger car sets as well. So what I've done here tonight is I've got the image here of the locomotive. And here's some heavyweights that you can pull with these guys. So this is Santa Fe passenger set. This is based on a 1930s paint scheme. What we're showing here is the 3-car set. This is ATH 88232. You can find this on our website under the new announcements for this month. This is going to include the diner, the Pullman, and the observation car. Now, on top of this, you can also purchase separately the Santa Fe baggage car, the additional coach, which is going to have a different number than what's shown here, so you can expand your passenger set, and an RPO. Another road that we're going to be offering is Milwaukee Road. Now, we took a little bit of liberty at this. This is not exactly how the Milwaukee Road would have painted this class of steam locomotive, but we wanted to have a little bit of fun with these because we did realize that a lot of guys that were buying these, they were using these for, say, a museum grounds on their layout or some type of tourist railroad. And that's what we're trying to replicate with this particular road. Definitely a familiar paint scheme for the Milwaukee Road. Again, 2 road numbers are being offered. Here we've got 2966. And to go along with those, we've got the heavyweight passenger cars and the same paint scheme. Now, the 3-car set that I'm showing here is going to include the diner, the Pullman coach, which is called the Iron Mountain, and the observation named the Crystal Point. You can also expand this by purchasing the baggage car, another coach, and an RPO as well. Now, everything that I'm talking about tonight, You have until next Friday, the 28th, to place your pre-orders with your preferred dealer. And believe it or not, that is coming quickly. Northeast fans, Maine Central. A lot of you guys probably didn't see this one coming. It's a good month for you Maine Central fans. Not only do we have the 260, we've also got the heavyweight passenger cars, and next week we're going to talk about the F7s. Now, I know the Maine Central never had F7s, but we wanted to go ahead and throw that out there because that's such a cool paint scheme. That pine green and gold looks really good, and the F7 does look very similar to what Maine Central called F5s. We'll talk more about that in a later show. So here we have 246. And appropriately enough, we've got some pine green varnish here. Here we've got the diner, the Pullman coach, and the observation car. This is a 3-car set. You can find these again on the new announcements page at athearn.com. And you can also expand your passenger fleet for the Maine Central by purchasing the baggage car separately, another coach with a different road number, as well as the RPO. Canadian modelers, we did not forget you. Here's the Canadian Pacific. Again, everything that you're seeing, Canadian Pacific, Maine Central, Santa Fe, all of those have 2 road numbers per road, so you can definitely have some fun with these. Canadian Pacific 3007, along with its matching passenger set. Based on a 1940s paint scheme, this 3-car set includes the diner named the Argyle, the Pullman coach, which was named the Hampshire, and the observation named the Mount Stephen. You can also purchase the baggage car separately, another coach with a different road number, as well as an RPO. Now, how about some Southern Pacific? Now, everybody loves this paint scheme. Even as a young man growing up on the East Coast, I knew about this paint scheme, the daylight paint scheme. It is a famous paint scheme. We kind of took some liberties again with this. We put this on here a little bit more subtle. We wanted to make it at least plausible. Here we've got 1824. Of course, it's got a matching cousin. But we had to do the daylight scheme on these heavyweights. These are beautiful representations of the Southern Pacific colors. Again, 1940s era paint scheme. The 3-car set, which you see here, includes a diner, a Pullman coach, and the observation car. And like the other ones, you can get an extra baggage car, another coach with a different number, and an RPO as well. So let's see, last but not least, we have the Union Pacific. Again, 2 different road numbers available. Here is number 37. And here are its coaches. This is the 3-car set that you can purchase. It comes with the diner, the Pullman coach, and the observation. Similar to the other ones, you can also purchase the baggage, an extra coach, and an RPO as well. Let's talk a little bit about the features of these. We're going to start with the 260. I'm going to go back to the Union Pacific here. A couple of things on these. Now, these have been a little bit more updated from what they were when they were in the Roundhouse a number of years ago. Some of the things have changed, some have not. It still has see-through cab windows, but it's also going to have separately applied wire form details. Bell mounted on the boiler. Bi-directional LED constant lighting. That means the headlights brightness remains consistent throughout its operation. They're all going to include a 5-pole motor with precision machined flywheels with a multi-link drive train for trouble-free operation, which is key on these small steam locomotives. We're also going to put traction tires on 2 of the drivers. This is going to give you more pulling power. They're going to have a reliable pickup from all drive wheels except the traction tire wheels, but that also includes the wheels on the tender. So you've got a lot of points of contact for electrical conductivity. They're all going to have a heavy die-cast frame for greater traction and more pulling power. And this is one of the updates. These are all DCC ready with a 21 plug NEM connector. Now the wheels have been nickel plated, but they're blackened, chemically blackened, machined wheels. They're all going to have the RP25 contour, of course. And what you're probably wondering is, what's the minimum radius I can run this locomotive on? You can run it on an 18-inch radius. However, it does look better on a 22-inch radius. Most guys with most size layouts have at least a 22-inch radius, so you shouldn't have any problem. Now, these are DCC ready. They come straight from the factory, ready for you to put in a decoder if you wish. However, if you like to go old school and you're operating just regular DC, you can just simply take them out of the box, place them on the track, and run to your heart's content. They are going to MSRP for $219.99. Talk to your dealer for your price. That is full MSRP. The prices that you get through your dealer may be different. Quickly now, let's talk about these coaches. Now, a lot of people were asking about these coaches. Yes, these are based on the old blue box models that we had many years ago, back when you had to put these together. They have been refined, however. They are still not 100% scale prototype length. They are a little bit shorter. They are a product of their generation. However, they have some upgrades. Now, some of the things that we've put into these models, of course, they're all going to have the 6-wheel passenger car trucks. The 3-pack, like I said earlier, is going to include the RPO, the diner, and the observation car. The coach in the 3-pack is going to have a different road number than the single, so that way you can add on to your fleet. They're all going to have machined metal wheels with the RP25 contour. The old blue box did not have that. They're going to be weighted to NMRA standards, and something else, the body-mounted McHenry couplers. Now, in the past, these were Talgo couplers. They are now body-mounted. That makes it a little bit easier. And believe it or not, these have a minimum radius of 18 inches. So you can run this with your steam locomotive. You can even run these with the F units that we're going to talk about next week if you want, or you can just run them with whatever motive power you currently have on your layout. Individually, the coach, the RPO, the baggage car, those go for $42.99 MSRP. If you spring for the 3-pack, it's going to be $114.99. So again, you have until Friday the 28th to place your pre-orders on these items. So if anybody has any questions on the 260, the passenger cars, feel free to shoot me a question here in the comments. I'll be looking here. Will there be undecorated coach cars? Not in this run. We actually did not get a lot of requests for that. If that's something that you'd like to see in a next run, be sure to use our Athearn product suggestion email and shoot us a line. Let us know that you'd like to see these in undecorated. Traction tire on the Loco. Yes, that is one of the new features that we've added to these models. There are traction tires on 2 sets of the drivers, so that way you've got a little bit of more pulling power. Let's see what other questions are out there. Glenn Powell Williams says, the CP ones are going to look fantastic behind my GP38-2. I'm sure they will. Great question from Fountain, Colorado Railfan. Will these be available in the Genesis line in the future? Honestly, probably not these versions. These go back quite a ways. If Athearn were to do a heavyweight passenger model for Genesis, it would probably be from the ground up. That being said, I can honestly say I don't know if anything like that is on the radar just yet. That doesn't mean no, however, but it does mean that I don't know that they're working on that right now. How about the Loco undecorated? No, not in this run. We've actually done Steam painted but unlettered, and they didn't really do so well in the sales category. However, you can take a look at our website. You can take a look at some of the locomotives. Some of the decoration on them is pretty limited, so you could probably start with one of those. Delivery date or ETA on these? We're talking at least until August of 2024 on these models. We're seeing a little bit more of a delay than what we've had in the past, so we're putting that out a little bit further. But you're going to probably see these next summer, 2024. Are the cars new molds or are they older ones? They are older ones. They are based on older molds. However, those molds have been refined over time. They've been repaired. They've been refined. If you were to compare one of these out of the box to, say, one of the blue box versions from many years ago, you would see some major differences. So a lot of things have been cleaned up over time. So a lot of things have been updated as well. All right. I'm going to go back just to make sure I didn't forget anybody while I was talking. A lot of questions on the undecorated coach cars. If that is something you'd like to see, please go ahead and send that request through our product suggestion email. All right. Let's go on to the next item that we're going to have. We're going to talk about 40-foot box cars. Now, this is the Athearn HO 40-foot with the Youngstown Door Box Car. Now, these things were all over the place, and specifically, you would see them anywhere from the 1940s into the 1960s. Now, many of these did last into the 70s, even into the early 80s, as they would stay on their home roads. They would typically lower the brake wheel. They would typically take off the roof walks and they would bring them up to modern standards. However, a lot of these 40-footers would spend the last of their years on their home roads, on their home trackage, and eventually end up as maintenance away or just scrapped. We saw a lot of them disappear in the late 1970s with the per diem program that was popular. But if you're modeling the 1940s into the late 1960s, this run of boxcars is specifically for you. Now, the first car that we've got here is the Alaska Railroad. This is car number 2007. Now, for each road here, we're offering 3 different road numbers. So you can get 3 versions of the Alaska Railroad. They're all going to be the same decoration, of course, but different road numbers. This is appropriate for 1961. I'm sure many of you remember these. The Bangor and a Rustic. This is car number 4041. These became popular in 1954. I'll throw a little question out there for you and wait till we're done with this segment to throw out your answer. But what product was Maine known for as far as produce at this era and why these boxcars were used? I'll look for that answer in the comments after this segment. Again, 1954 Bangor and a Rustic, very colorful boxcar. Here we've got Northern Pacific. This is car number 43078. This is 1941 on up. So perfect for you Steam era guys. Here's one I bet you a lot of you guys didn't think we would be doing. Nashville, Chattanooga, and St. Louis Railway, car number 19210. 1954 paint scheme, so perfectly acceptable from 1954 throughout the 1960s. And of course, we've got the Pennsylvania Railroad. These are beautiful cars. 1961 on these. And then last but not least, we're going to go a little south of the border from where I'm at anyways. And check these out. We had a lot of requests for these. FDP 4381 1960s era boxcars. You guys that are modeling, close to the border in the 1960s, perfect addition for you guys. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the features of the 40-foot boxcars with the Youngstown doors. These are going to have separately applied brake wheels and ladders. They're all going to have the 70-ton roller bearing trucks. They're also going to include 33-inch machined metal wheels with the RP25 contour. Of course, they're NMRA weighted for optimum performance. Add that to the body-mounted McHenry scale knuckle couplers. And of course, painted and printed for realistic decoration. All models are representative of prototypical paint schemes. The minimum radius on these guys, 18 inches. So if you guys watching tonight don't think you have a lot of room for a layout and you think, man, really would like to have some kind of a layout, not really into the point to point, I'd rather have something that would at least let me have a continuous running operation, you might want to consider this era of model railroading. A lot of the locomotives and a lot of the freight cars and even the passenger cars were slightly smaller, so they'll negotiate a smaller radius, say a 22-inch or even in this case an 18-inch radius. Now these cars will MSRP for $31.99. Contact your dealer before Friday, April 28th to lock in your pre-order. Again, each road that I showed you, you have 3 different road numbers, so it's easy to build up your fleet. So with that being said, let's see if anybody has any questions on the 40-foot box cars. Let's see, I saw one here. Donnie is saying he used to see the Northern Pacifics in Illinois. That's kind of cool. No Kansas City Southern this time, not this run. A lot of people remember those. Chris wants to know, this is an unrelated question, but he says that, Jim, why was the VIA P42 Poppy unit canceled? It no longer shows on any shop website. Be looking through our social media for an official reason, but basically what ended up happening was the powers that be that owned the rights to the Poppy would not allow us to make that locomotive. So unfortunately, even though VIA had given us the blessing, the administration that owns the rights to the Poppy and everything associated with the Poppy would not allow us to produce that locomotive. Again, be looking this week on our social media feeds for the official reason why that is not going to happen. We apologize because we realize that is a very popular locomotive, but unfortunately it's beyond our control. We did try every legal means necessary to produce those, but unfortunately we just could not come to terms, and they declined us the ability to make those locomotives. Again, we'll have an official reason put out on our social media this week. Delta 9, Sharp Eye. I think the main products car had a gas heater. Almost. Actually, they were charcoal. If you were to look at the full-scale box car, you would notice there was a box underneath the sliding door on the chassis. It was actually a charcoal heater, and that was to keep that product. And I was looking to see if anybody gave me what product it was. I'm going to go back because there's a lot of people posting it. I want to make sure I get the first person. It looks like Todd, maybe the first one. No, it looks like John. If I didn't get you, I apologize, but it looks like John got it first. Potatoes, yes. Bangor and Rustic was famous for potatoes. People usually think of Idaho for potatoes. Actually, Maine was one of the biggest producers of both blueberries and potatoes at this time. Let's see what other questions we have. John, not sure about that, but I definitely know New Haven did. New Haven had a run of those cars at one time. All right. Any more questions on the 40 foots? Couple of people asking for products. Again, make sure you use our Athearn product suggestion email. Our guys do read those. We can't always reply to all of them because keep in mind, usually after a Train Tuesday like this, the inbox gets filled pretty quickly. So there you have it. There we've got some 260 steam locomotives, DCC ready. Again, if you aren't into DCC, they're perfectly ready to go right out of the box. They're going to have traction tires on the main drivers. That would be the drivers towards the middle of the locomotive. And don't forget, too, they're going to be all those wheels will conduct electricity, so you won't have that stop and start problem that steam engines can be known for. These actually run really great, especially if you've got a small layout. And hey, I'd like to see somebody do a small switching point-to-point layout with one of these small steam locomotives. I think that'd be really cool. I'm going to open it up real quick for any general questions that you may have on Athearn, and then I'm going to leave you with some news. Let's see. A lot of people confirming about the charcoal heaters that those Bangor and Aroostook cars had. Yeah, that was definitely a thing. Bradley wants to know, where'd he go? Here we go. Bradley wants to know, any word if the F7B will be retooled? Yeah, at this time, probably not. The F7B is in pretty good shape. There's no reason for us to retool it. The F unit, however, did seriously need some tooling. The last runs before we did the retooling, there was an unsightly seam down the center of the top of the locomotive. Also, too, one of the things that we've done is the steam generators are no longer present. A lot of the F7As did not have the steam generators, so most people were buying those locomotives and shaving those off. We're going to save you some trouble there. Those are not on there. Another thing, too, and we'll talk about it this Thursday, and we'll also talk about it on Tuesday, is we are offering the F7As both single and dual headlight variants in undecorated. So for you guys that want to do your own roads or you want to do your own thing, we've got those available for pre-order until Friday the 28th. Randall's got a different take on one of our legendary liveries. Super excited about the Burlington Northern SD40 T-2s, Jim. Will you do any other BN schemes for that locomotive or even a BNSF Heritage 1 scheme? Well, certainly not in this run. And I will say that that locomotive has had a very serious impact on our social media feed. A lot of people either in one camp or the other, they love it or they hate it. It's one of those things where it does not really take a lot of resources away from new projects. It's simply just making something plausible, letting an artist fill in the blanks, if you will. And a lot of people really do like those BNSD40 T-2s, even though Burlington Northern never had those. Will we do something in the future, say like you're saying the BNSF? I don't know. If we get enough requests for it, we'll definitely consider it. Don't think that we're not listening to you. We are listening to you with the product suggestion email. It's just the amount of emails that we get, our product developers just don't have time to go through the volumes of emails. All right, so let's see what I've got for you. Thursday night at 7:00 p.m. Central Standard Time. Please join me for the April Athearn Extra. It's the 2.4. We're already in our second year and our fourth month. This month, I have special guest Tony Cook from White River, and I've also got Ray Arnott. You may know Ray from his Around the Layout podcast. Great modeler, kind of from my neck of the woods. He's going to join us as well. We're going to talk a little bit about what those guys are up to, what they're doing, and of course, we're going to talk about the locomotives more in detail. We're going to talk SD60Es, the F units, and the F59s, and a little bit of everything. Of course, Tony's going to be on board with all those really cool prototype pictures. There may even be a prototype picture in there, one or two from myself. Also, if you notice, Tony was at the big merger day last Friday for the Canadian Pacific and the Kansas City Southern. He's going to share some pictures with us, tell us a little bit about what that was like since he was in the area for that. So it's going to be a good time. That's going to be this Thursday at 7:00 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you can't make the live feed, you'll be able to see it later on our YouTube channel. and hope you can join us for that live feed. We'll be answering questions during the live feed. Should be a great time. All right, with that, I'm going to let you guys have one or two more questions, and then I am going to let you get back to some modeling tonight. Let's see. Steven's a fan of the F7As in on deck. Yeah, I did a Boston and Maine one many years ago, probably when I was in junior high. And I mean, it was good for its time, but now these new ones, I definitely have some undecks that I'm probably going to do in some Boston and Maine blue dips just for the fun of it. You can detail those too. We're going to talk a little bit more about those on Thursday. But rather than have all of those molded on details that you're going to end up shaving off, now there's just little dimples there. You can get a number 80 drill bit in there, and you can actually get the detail kit that Walthers still sells. You won't need the clear parts, though, because the clear parts are now included. But all the handrails and all that kind of stuff you can add now. You can actually do a lot of detailing with these, and there could even be a contest out of this for all I know. Let's see. Jason, I want to get you here real quick. Will there be any more Southern EMDs? Oh, yeah, there will be. It's a railroad that needs a little bit more love, in my opinion. They had a really cool roster. They had some really cool engines, and we do really well with those when we produce them. Now, lately we haven't done any, but as the year continues, I do believe we'll be doing some more Southern EMDs. So keep your eyes out for that. Let's see. KCG Rail Gilbert, one of those SD60Es coming out. Well, the ones that we announced this month, they're going to be out next August. So August 2024. So put in your pre-order dates with your dealer before Friday the 28th, and you'll be guaranteed to have one of those next year at this time. All right, with that, it looks like everybody is ready to go. Kyle, any more open auto carriers planned? Not this year that I know of, but I could be wrong. But as far as I know, we're not doing any this year. So with that, I'm going to let you guys get back to it. Get back, do some modeling, be happy, be kind to others, and above all, high greens. I will see you guys on Thursday, 7 o'clock Central, for the Athearn Extra 2.4. Until then, good night, everyone. Take care.